Hello everybody, I'm Debbie from Wild and Woolly. Behind the camera we have the lovely Ray. She's doing all the cinematography for us. What we want to show you today is this fabulous Charleston placemat. We just put this together, and this intro is going to be followed by a video tutorial for you so you can follow along. But basically it's just a few strips right here of the contrasting Charleston fabrics. This is our focal Charleston houses, and we bound it with this lovely sun stripe right here. One of the really cool things about this, apart from it being the Charleston fabric, which is perfect, but the other really cool thing is we put heat resistance batting in here, so it's going to protect your table somewhat. I know a lot of people make placemats and just put regular batting, but we decided, hey, let's just go all out and put the heat resistant in there, or heat reflective. So you follow along with us. We're just giving you basic cutting instructions and sewing and pressing instructions as you go. We're assuming that you know how to bind. Right here, if you don't, we do have a tutorial on YouTube for that we'll direct you to later. But if you have any questions about this, you give us a call or you email us at the wildandwoollyshop.com and ask questions. But otherwise, you've got everything in your kit that you need to make this. We've just made one. Your kit contains enough to make 4 of these placemats. If you need additional ones, let us know and we can add to your kit for you. But we hope you enjoy it, and we'll give you written instructions also. I want to show you this first cutting piece here, because the main focal fabric obviously is the Charleston houses. And so what we've done is we've laid it out to show you each of these pieces are going to be 10 inches wide cut by 12.5 inches cut. They're going to finish at 9.5 by 12. So I've cut this one out to show you how this is going to work for you. You're going to have 4 10-inch cuts across width of fabric, but we gave you extra fabric because of the placement of the houses. So let's say on this first cut here, if you're looking to see what you would like as your center point, you can actually cut up or down depending on what you want to include in your 10-inch width right here. You see this? So that's why you've got extra fabric here. You only need 12.5 inches, but say for example with this one, you might want to make your cut like this so you get the most of the houses or the trees or whatever it is you want to be the focal point for you. So this is why your base fabric is cut this way. Your fabrics that frame either side of your focal Charleston house fabric, they are actually going to be width of fabric by 2.5-inch strips right here. And I've laid them out this way. You can put them in any configuration you would like, but I've laid them out so you can see what will happen to these is you're going to sew the whole width of fabric together all the way. You sew them in 2s, and then you'll sew this one to this one. We'll show you, but just so that you know that you're actually going to be sewing the whole width of fabric, and then we're going to be making our subcuts out of it. So don't be cutting your 5.5 inches just yet. We're going to sew all this together first. So we had all of our strips laid out, and now we're going to sew them together. One thing I will tell you about sewing all of your strips together is 2 of these fabrics are a little directional. It's the azalea and the jasmine, the flowers. So make sure when you're sewing that you're not going to sew your flowers upside down on your placemat. You can if you want to, but if you like them to be the right direction, just be sure that you've got them facing the right way before you sew them. You can pop your edges together and start sewing. You're going to sew a 1/4-inch foot. I'm on the Horizon Memory Craft 15,000. So my settings over here, I can go to the quilt settings and I can set a 1/4-inch setting. It will adjust my stitch length to be 1.8 so that my little pieces don't come apart when I cut them. Everything is set. It sets it right at a 1/4-inch seam here, so I just follow the edge of my foot. I know that I'm exactly 1/4 inch because it's all preset. So all I have to do is pop my foot down and have at it. So we're just going to sew all of the strips here we'll sew 2 together, 2 together, 2 together, and then those 3 sections together. And we can come back to you when we have these strips sewn, but basically you're just going to go with the fabric. Okie dokie folks, so we have sewn our 6 width of fabric strips together. I pressed mine with seams open just because that's my preference. You press them with whatever your preference is. I also like to do in units, these together, these together, and these together, and then sew the units together. I find it easier to press. Say if I do these 2, press these, the next 2, press these in the middle, and then as you join in it, you've just got this one seam to press. And it's less fiddly. So we have all 6 strips together. I've just cut the selvage off this end, and we need to cut a 5.5 inch strip of this. We need 2 for each placemat. So you're going to be cutting 10 of, no, you're going to be cutting 8 of these because you're making 4 placemats. So you're going to be cutting 8 of these, and you'll get them all out of your width of fabric. I have a 5.5 inch ruler, which is phenomenal because all I have to do is line it up, width of ruler, and cut it to get my 5.5 right here. This is going to be finishing at 5. So I've got 2. I'm just going to make 1 placemat today. So I've got the 2 side pieces, and then we're going to show you where we're going to go with that. We have our edgings, our sides right here, and we have our focal piece in the center, and we're going to attach these edges to the center focal piece. And we're just going to roll these in, right sides facing. Now I have a bunch of seams on this side. I have no seams on this side, so I like to keep my seams up when I'm sewing. Again, you're going to be 1/4 inch, but I like to keep the seams up because then I can be sure when I do that, I can be sure that I'm not going to be folding these seams as I stitch them. Sometimes when they're underneath, you lose track of where they are, but I like when they're on top because you can just, and don't follow me and use your finger, you could use a stiletto if you want to be nice and safe, but I just like to make sure that they're feeding in there and there's no turning or folding. And catch these here at the end, make sure everything fits in. Just going to use this as a little ender right here. Find the regular scissors, we've got these tiny snips. So this is the first side, you can see right here, and we'll press this, and then we're going to pop this side on also, and we'll come back to you when we've got this side on and pressed. So now we have put both of our frames on each edge of our focal fabric right here, which is pretty. And our next step actually is going to be to quilt this. Now here's what's special about this placemat that often you don't find. This right here is Insulbright, which is heat insulated. So it will help if you have nice table, it will help you not mark your table if you put a hot plate onto it. So we decided to use this just to make it special. And what we're going to do here is this is our backing, and this is the Charleston Magnolia. If you look, it is directional, so take a peek at it before you lay it down and make sure that you've got your flowers pointing up. And we're going to lay it down, and then we're going to put our Insulbright on top of that. It does not matter which way the Insulbright lays. That being said, the Charleston fabric is notoriously fine and it's white, so if you look closely at this Insulbright, one side is a little whiter and one side is a little silvery. I say put your silver side down. As far as function goes of the Insulbright, it doesn't matter which way you have it. So have your white side facing up, so then your white Charleston fabric is lovely and crisp white, and we're going to lay this over, and you can see that we cut our backing and we cut our insole bright with a little extra here, because when you quilt, some of that will get sucked up, and if you've got any movement, you don't want to run out of fabric. Okay, so we're laying this silver side down. I have stepped outside and I sprayed both sides of this with the basting spray, the basting glue. I used June Taylor. You can also use the 505. There is also a glue powder by Quilters Select, which I really love. You just sprinkle it and iron it. Absolutely love it. But for these purposes of this, we have spray glue. I'm just going to line it all up, make sure it's nice and neat. Right here. And you can see, you're just looking for it to be nice and smooth. And you can see this is just lovely and bright white underneath there, which is what we want. The next thing we're going to do, we're going to mark, all I'm going to do for quilting wise to put all these together, I'm just going to do straight vertical stitches, and I'm going to mark my first stitch, my first line, with an erasable marker, just so I've got a line to begin with. Okie dokie folks, we've got a lovely little purple disappearing line here for our center line. Now I have this, Janome has this AccuFeed system, and they have a what you call a superior foot feed anyway. It box feeds instead of like this. It goes like this, so your fabric comes through evenly. And then they have these AccuFeed feet that go on the top. So it's a dual feed. It's feeding from top and bottom. So you get a nice stitch, and it just basically sails through any thick layers. So in that, it's got a little thing to put this gauge in here. And I've got this set at 1 inch wide. And all I have to do is stitch down my first drawn line, and then beyond that, my guide just follows down each stitched line. So I'm actually only having to draw one line. So we're going to set off here. Oh, I forgot to put gloves on. And it's like butter. Just sails through. And you'll see, actually didn't stitch down the purple line, I put my thing down the purple line. But what a beautiful stitch this is. And that's because this is really thick. This isn't just any batting, this is actually heat resistant batting. It's got aluminum in it. But you can see with this AccuFeed system how beautiful those stitches are. We finished quilting this, and we're going to show you the stitches because they're really beautiful. And this is what a difference the dual feed makes. It just literally sails through your fabric. So this is all finished. All we did is just a nice simple vertical line, very effective, doesn't take away from the print at all, which is really lovely. Our next thing we're going to do is these edges here, we're going to trim up all of these edges, and we're going to make sure they're square and make sure that they're trim. And once we've done that, we're going to apply our binding. This binding, we have to make this binding. I just put 2 pieces together here to show you. You're going to get quite a few strips of this. Is it 9 strips? You're going to get quite a lot of strips of this. Before you make your binding, join them all together like this. Make your binding, and then just sew it from your roll of binding. That way you're going to have the best use of the fabric quantity that we gave you. Now, if you don't know how, we're assuming that you know how to bind. If you don't know how to bind, you need to go to our YouTube channel, Wild and Woolly YouTube channel. Make sure you get the correct Wild and Woolly. And Kim, our lovely Kim here, has a tutorial on machine binding. There are a few different ways to bind. Because this is a placemat and not a quilt, we're going to be machine binding it. Some people, that's their preference anyway. So hop over to YouTube to Kim's tutorial on machine binding if you know how to, if you need to know how to do that. But bear with us, we'll be right back. Okay, lovely people. As you can see, we have a finished placemat here, and we're very happy with it. We went with machine binding. Again, if you need the instructions for that, pop to Kim's tutorial on it. But Ray has never machine bound in her life and just did it, and it's beautiful. So you can do it. If you're thinking you can't do it, you can do it. We love this dimension that we get with the heat resistant padding inside here. It gives you a really great quilt definition lines, but again without taking away from this pattern. So enjoy your placemats. We've just made one to show you how to make it. You're going to make 4 or 6 or however many placemats you need, but it's the perfect thing for your home. It's a perfect thing for a gift. It's the perfect housewarming gift, we decided, or even a wedding gift, whatever you want. It's cute, cute, cute. We're very happy with it, and we hope you enjoy yours nearly as much as we're enjoying ours. Take care. Bye-bye.